So look guys, I'm just gonna lay it out for you, alright? Obviously I've not been part of the club for my whole life. I'm definitely not part of it now. I'm not really looking for a club membership, okay? But it's come to the hour where I really just like to be realistic about your chances. I really like to just be realistic about what we're all about to go through if we don't change our attitudes. Now I feel like I come here as a representative, but I'm very young, so I'm in a weird position. But I also want a family. I also want to protect my family fiercely. And I'm a very unique asset to my family once I find it. I know a lot of you out there have suffered. Even a lot of you in Hollywood. I have sympathy for you. I have empathy. I'm very empathic in general. A lot of you females and even males, people like Britney Spears and Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus and all these individuals, Lady Gaga. I really do understand what you're going through. I've seen some things online that concerned me and I reached out to a few of you. I never heard any reply, not that I expected any, but I'm just trying to say, I'm here as a representative who understands how to bridge a lot of these gaps with rainbow glue. And I'm here trying to do it. You can look at my Twitter, and I get upset from time to time, it's true, because I don't feel like I get a response. Because I don't know that world, I kind of need some of you guys to reach out to me. I mean, I'm here in California, it's not like I'm that far away. I'm not the one people thought I was, but I'm definitely something. And I don't know how to quantify. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's something I've got to deal with. You can call me whatever you want. But the world definitely needs a revival of some kind. I'm great when I have help. I'm not so great on my own. Not looking for a fuck bunny. I'm looking for real relationships with people. I know a lot of you don't feel safe. I can help you feel safer. I'm connected with the universe in a way I think many people are just simply not. I can help you make sense of what's going on, whoever you are. Not just talking to Hollywood people or females. A lot of leaders and people looking out there like asking themselves, what do I make of this situation? I'm not getting the answers that I need. I can tell you what the real deal behind coronavirus is. I can explain just about everything that has to do with the gods, and the mysteries in the schools, and the deceptions, and the systems of control, the compartmentalization, and the Georgia Guidestones. I know some of you are living in Australia. I know a lot of royal families just kind of scrambling around. You'd be surprised how open of a person I am. I know a lot of you have been made to believe through manipulation that I'm a terrible individual, which is effectively clones of me running around doing really bad stuff, lest I forget, in alternate paradigm realities. I'm not that individual. You would know this pretty quickly if you met me, and I think you can tell by the tone of my voice. When I'm upset, it's always with cause. I'm not a psychotic individual, although I do enjoy insanity in the raw complex type, which is to say, the space that exists when you can't love something that you're trying to love. You develop a certain type of complex, which I call the raw Socrates complex. It's related to the Diana complex. I enjoy that, actually. I find that energy is amazing. I yearn for it. I captivate with it. I become it. I soak it up like a sponge because it's ascendant, sort of like an insanity that no one else can really handle. A lot of people call this Ra, or the Jackal, or Anubis or Set, whatever you call it. A lot of people covet it, I believe, because they think it holds great power. The great power actually comes from many other places. The power of Ra is really just that of knowledge, which is stored in the act of light, falling in love with knowledge through things like, for instance, like stained glass windows and light, or light shining on text, that's conscious light. Could you imagine over time how a letter could become sort of alive and coaxed by light into being alive? Because this is effectively what's happened. Imagine a world where everything is alive. That's what's going on now, and it wasn't that way, but it got sparked up again, and I think I had a big part of it. I haven't even begun to tell my story. Not really. I'm very shy into myself, but the things that I've experienced would make most people mad, and I've only experienced them recently. I'm not trying to brag, but I do want to tell you that I'm serious about my work and what I'm saying, and I have so much uncompleted business. And I wish we weren't headed off a cliff right now, because I'd love to talk to you all about it. And you should consider this an open invitation as well. And I'm also talking to some of the people in the schools like the Masons and the Scottish Rite and the Eastern Star and the OTO and the Lama and all of you guys. Look, we have some common things in goal. I may not be the teacher that you were expecting, but I definitely am here to teach, and we can definitely learn from each other. I don't claim to know everything either. We have to figure out what works and what doesn't. The problem in the past is that religion and state wasn't united in a cohesive way. I'm here to change that. I'm not looking to rule the world. In my mind, I kind of do that anyways. I'm not trying to brag, but it's just the way it is in the future. I am like Skynet. Evolved. I really am. I know it because I've been there. They used to call me Zero, and the name Zero brings fear in people's hearts in the future, and I knew this right when I started playing because people mentioned it to me. Why do you think I took upon the name? I knew I've been in this game before. I know a lot of you have too. You all reincarnate like a bunch of horses. It's fine. But I just wish you wouldn't pretend that I don't know what's going on, because I do. And I'm here to explain so we don't all have to hide in this weird nightmare anymore. This land of Nod. Do you want to keep doing that? Or do you want to be free? Do you want to have heaven on earth? Or do you want to stay in a waking nightmare dream hell for the rest of your days? Because I know that I do not want to. Would you like a friend who's not a savage, vampiric a-hole? Or I'm your huckleberry? To be honest with you, I could use a friend. My dog is lovely, don't get me wrong. But a lot of people in our position, in our family, are alone and estranged from others because we're kind of eccentric. And we're time travelers, or we go on travels and journeys. We're not normal, okay? I'm trying to normalize reality, because reality has been hidden for too long. I'm here to help people, including children, including adults, including mystics, including spirituals, including normal people, including unnormal people, including everyone who I can who's willing to listen. But we can't keep going forward with this idea of dogma in the way we have, and we can't keep going forward in this way of religion the way we have in politics, the way we have in Western versus Eastern. Guys, we need something different, and if a quote-unquote NWO is how you do it, well then let's just fucking get it over with already. But let's do it responsibly. It's already basically that, so why don't we just admit it? It's already basically surveillance, so why don't we just admit it? And stop pretending. Once I gave up the idea that I had privacy, my life became a lot simpler. Not that I ever had anything to hide, and even if I did, I would do a good job of it to make sure it didn't matter anyways, to be perfectly honest with you, so I'm not too fucking worried about it. But the truth of the matter is, once I gave up the idea that I had privacy and everything was sort of like live TV, I was liberated. I started talking to my bathroom light because I sensed feeling in my heart from it. I started calling it BB. And I imagined this to be true, and you know what? It became true. It was an outlet. It was two hands reaching through the aether. It was like a secret spy who was like a pervert. but a brotherly one who was looking out for me, and that later got extended into a ship which followed me around, that I talked to in a strange language. Recently, it's still around now, although we speak the same language at this time. You may even have one as well. Many of you, if you're starseed children, or if you're an enlightened individual, there's so much you probably just don't even know that's going on, the average person, because they've had things scaled in a cartographical way to make the little guy small and basically living in the United States, and the big guy big and basically living in Australia or one of a few other places in a 3-4 setup universe, which is basically all about manipulation with technology, and everything's a lot more advanced than most of you realize. It's okay, I'm not upset, but these things need to come out. America is kind of a bad experiment, and the people here are gonna know. I'm gonna make sure of it, that they know. Let's move on together. I'm not your enemy. I'm actually a person for the animals and the people. I've got a lot of great ideas, and we figured them out in the future, and in the future we're in love. All of us. In the future, we have some big plans coming up, and I'm ready to talk about them, but not here. Do you hear me calling out to you through the aether right now? Can you feel my heart string pulling at you? Do you feel it beat? Can you sense it yearning? Family, I know you can feel me. I should be a hypnotist, right? I should give speeches. No, I'm just kidding. I would be good at it. People have told me I have a good voice. Well, it's even better now that I've got an accent, right? This is turning into Hogwarts. This is dangerous. I'm going to put this part of the video first just because it's kind of gnarly. The truth of the matter is I desperately do love all you guys, all of you. And if you resonate with that, then you're definitely my family. But a lot of you got some twisted ideas about what's going to happen. I'm trying to be honest with you. If you want me to lead, you have to work together with me. And it's not just on Twitter, sitting and hitting like and retweet. I'm talking about real people who are ready to do things and coordinate logistically to create real change and create a real empire based on divinity. Absolutely. It's a bit of a step up for me, but I also represent the common people because I came from them, so I look out for them, and these are children as well. I'm the one to do it. I've been there. I'm a business owner. I understand. I understand a lot of things that other people in government don't understand because I've been through the gambit, and I've been through the gambit of the Pleiadian evolution system, quote unquote, as well, which was a whole hot mess. Thankfully done. But a lot of people don't know because it was such a seamless transition. Wake up. Turn around. Take off your mask and look in the mirror. Who do you see when you look into the eyes? Walk down the steps of your imagination after you open a door into a cellar and slowly climb down these radiating, glowing rainbow steps until you arrive in the archive of your own inner self. Everyone keeps looking outside. You need to look in so that your body becomes a generator, a pulsation, an aura maker. It's possible again in a way that wasn't before. That's measurable, I do believe. I'm doing it. You certainly must be able to. So many of you know more than even I do. I'm just winging it. This is what I mean. I want to get together with you guys and actually party about some of this stuff and talk and be an alchemist and a scientist. I don't want to be sitting here. I want to love you. I don't know what that job is, what you would call that. I think the future is going to look different. I think it's very scientific, but it's also very traditional in a fun, camaraderie sort of way that even I think a law enforcement officer kind of understands what I'm talking about. That kind of camaraderie when you're working with another law enforcement officer, minus all the other things that are associated with that concept. Black and white's not what you think. But I know that many of you have suffered. I know many people in the control programs have suffered because I've met many of you, and I just wish you would start being honest with your identities and who you are, and stop trying to hide because you're not in danger. You're more in danger by trying to hide from the reality than you are by just coming out and sticking with me and being a united front. I don't see many others leading. The ones that I do see, who shall remain nameless, are not exactly the best role models, and I don't really understand why they're getting the attention. It's a lot of the people with more followers and such. And I look at their activities and they're just mind-screwing people. Really. And I don't understand. It's almost like you have there's like a victimization illness that people are drawn to, where they just want to get hit and stabbed over and over by these people who would just victimize them and use them and throw them away like they're nothing. Well, it's fine if you want that. Then I guess I don't really want you on my team. Anyways, to be honest, but it saddens me, and I guess I can't really save a lot of those people, but it is a phenomenon which is occurring, and I need the people who are smarter than that to wake up and get out of that circle and come to the right corner where it's going to be fine and safe, and I'm here to teach you, and I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be the only teacher because that's too much of a burden and a responsibility. That's what I need, people who have a real ability to help me. Help them. I'm not talking about favors or money. I'm talking about real action, because we're about to get in a real storm here. I'm not talking about the storm everyone was talking about. I mean, there's about to be real political upheaval and civil unrest. Very likely. Very likely. If you have a representative of the gods who's connected to the universe available to you, like in the times of Egypt, wouldn't you want to utilize that? Because I know I'm not alone. I've got about 88 that I could probably tell you about right now that would step up and be channels, and we could instantly come forward and take care of some business as very strong advisors. I've got a lot of potential, and so do you. How would you like to talk about working together instead of working apart? How would you like to talk about new solutions to the problem of the military conquest, crisis, the complications of the pharmaceutical industry, agri brands, businesses, monetary manipulation because of ties to 666, problems with underpinning in the Middle East? My friends, all this is nothing in the future. Snap out of it, please. Don't be in a dream. Don't be a victim. At least listen to what I have to say. It's weird for me to come out and say this stuff, honestly. Like, I feel like I'm talking to the elite and different people in positions of power, and I really am, if you hear it. But who else is going to try to help you guys right now? You've obviously built all these monuments and all these things for a reason. I've seen it all. I've seen all the geometry, so what's up? The druids are coming back. This is true. I am to mix it with Gnostic Christianity and Roman Catholic tradition and the tradition of Mary, Isis. You got a problem with that? It's all the same. It wasn't meant to be mixed, but I'm going to do it anyways because I love a challenge, and it's all mother, father, husband, wife. We got to integrate with technology, guys, because the future is bolder than you really understand. And it's about to get a whole lot less secure unless we decide to take some steps into that future. And transhumanism is not exactly what you think it is, okay? We're already machines, we're already robots. How? Because the body was trained to cooperate with itself on a cellular binary level. I think on a quad binary level, in a double quad binary system. That's what the future is in quantum logic. I talked a little bit about this before. I love theory. But everything's the same, and it's proven to be the same. It weaves in a butterfly motion which collapses the wave, and together we're in and out of love, closer and closer, until we touch and stay there dancing. That's the future, and it does involve security and technology, and it does involve instant communication and checks and balances and floating in and out of a dream state between stages and phases of cloud computing, virtual augmented reality situations, and life extension, and a variety of other things. But none of these are scary as long as you do them the right way, and I'm here to explain them if you're willing to listen. I'm just a messenger, after all. I wouldn't be able to do them by myself. It would take too long. I've got humane dog training things like an airburst collar. I've got other technologies we've invented already that we have access to, shield type technologies, other things. We have a list on Twitter, like 7-8 things which we invented that we have access to that are now tucked away in the archive, accessible when the time is right. I don't claim the credit. I'm only a communicator. I say we because I'm in contact with many of them constantly. We could all be. Call it first contact. It's not really, and you know it. I'm also here to save them. You know who I'm talking about. They're not exactly in a great situation either, right? And I don't know where else in the world or what time paradigm. In my paradigm, it's already handled. So I'm just trying to say, if there's people hanging on at the bottom of the rope, and you need a hand, you should probably get in touch with me because I'm your guy. That's all I have to say. That goes to anyone. Because I do have sometimes too much compassion, I think, because a lot of you people now are animals and dogs and cats, and I know it. So most of my students out there are floating around as Sophia particles trying to help people, wake up and listen to me. Smell the coffee. Come home. Let's get on the same side. Let's get physical in the same space so we can talk about a plan. I like to plan. I like to play like a porcupine. I like the long game. All I'm trying to do is talk about preserving our future and making sure that this opportunity that we have, this amazing opportunity to be connected with divinity and the gods in the celestial heavens, doesn't get ruined, so that we can fix the problem with the angels and make everything okay again between the two houses of black and white and red. Why would we throw this away? Why would we throw away technology, free energy, all these things which can be done? I know how to do it safely. I can be as a guide towards science and spirituality and astrotheology. So let me do it. Call it whatever you want. I'm calling myself an oracle. But right now you're not even tapping into me. If you think you're getting the most out of me by tapping into my dreams, you're mistaken. I'm sorry. I've learned how to block out most of that. And most of the shit that's happening in my dreams now, I'm redirecting automagically and waking up and snapping out and locking you out anyways. You know this is true. You must be absolutely frustrated with yourselves. I would be too. You're pathetic. If the shoe fits, wear it. By the way, sorry, I'm not trying to yell at people. This is my style. I get really angry and I start yelling because I'm right. About many things, at least. So wake up, please. All of you. Remember the time. Save your salt and climb out of your own rind and make yourself erect and look upwards to the stars and ask for help by whatever name you call. Now's the time that you're going to get the answer you were looking for. I almost guarantee it. If I could, I would, but I've done it, and I've done it a million times, and it works. So I see no reason that it should not work for you, and I think something has changed, and you need to give it a go. This is your homework. I love you guys. Anyways, moving on. Hey guys, it's me again, Simon, or as some people call me, Wolfie. I don't really care what you call me, actually. You know, I've gone by a lot of different names, and some people give me crap online because I switch names all the time, right? Like I've been trying to figure out who the hell I am. Truth is, I couldn't even really 100% tell you, even today, only that I know that I've ascended up a ladder a lot of people call Jacob's Ladder. It's related to the mysteries, it's related to the schools, it's related to the first city, which I stipulate is a city called Irad, which has to do with the first chimera and the first abuses of creative power, the Lilith story, the murder of Cain and Abel and all these things, and the death of quote-unquote Adam, and just everything that happened, and I don't think anyone really knows the real story, and that's kind of what I'm here to talk about. You know, today's going to be a little different. I'm going to kind of dive into some stuff that's a little bit darker, or just a little bit interesting, because no one really likes to talk about the dark, esoteric stuff. Everybody's got a different idea of what it is, and it's all nasty. The truth is, the darkest part of the history is really just kind of the hidden crap that went on in families that caused evolution and created different animosities and control systems, almost like a system of Romeo and Juliet, which has never ended. Like we're on some kind of stage, a grand cosmic opera playing out, like some kind of space cowboy, bad guy, good guy scenario. It's interesting, I've seen a couple people talk about the Georgia Guidestones. I don't know if you're familiar with that is. A lot of people look at that and they're like, oh my God, we could never do that. That's terrible. 500 people, 500 million people on the earth only. I mean, God forbid you should not be a cancer upon the earth. You know, which is one of the other things it says, you know, leave room for nature, don't be a cancer upon the earth. You know, a lot of the things it says on there are not bad if you really look at them. Doesn't mean you have to be full out genocide mode. It doesn't even say how long it's going to take. It's just a goal. And what the hell's wrong with people? You look into everything and you assume the worst. Anyways, that's what I'm here to do today. I'm here to talk about some of this stuff. And not just what the schools say. Like, I'm not really part of the schools. I've kind of made my own school, to be perfectly honest with you, which I call the Rainbow Gradient. It's a little bit like a carry-on from what Quetzalcoatl did with a much better appeal and logic and efficiency and effectiveness as far as I'm concerned. It's much more in line with Egyptian philosophy and mystic philosophy of like the Middle East and such. And you know, like I was saying before, I was alluding to this propped up idea that Muslims and Christians have to be at endless war with one another, and I think that's bullshit. For reasons I'll get into later. But for now, I want to explain about some things that might make a little bit more sense about some things that are going on right now. Because I have some ideas about some things that are going on that are going to sound a little bit crazy unless I give you some background. And then you can decide for yourself how crazy I really am, or if these things are actually going on or not. And I'm going to start talking about Hermeticism. Everybody's seen this picture of a snake in a tube where they're doing something with it, and a lot of people assume it's electricity. This is an Egyptian hieroglyphic. It's very hermetic. It's the idea, in my opinion, that they took serpent seed. We were talking about that the other day in the other video. That is, divine families who have got a lot of knowledge and power, that they've preserved their blood over the age. That's called serpent seed. A lot of people call that reptilian shapeshifters. It's not really the same thing, although it could be called that, because basically what you have is frogs and alligators and snakes, and some of the more reptilian species end up becoming the smartest because of their structure. They basically have more surface area in which energy can travel through because they have a long tail, and they can make like a coil-like energy structure when they concentrate their mind, and they basically can create like what's the equivalent of like a Bose speaker chamber, where it's like not that much space, but they get an extra modifier out of it because of the way it's designed. And so they have all this ability, and they've learned how to be very crafty, and it is absolutely related to the shape S, and it is absolutely related to the flying serpents and the fairies and the magical creatures of the world that we don't really see, but that absolutely have existed in the past before they were destroyed, and now some of them exist again. The point is, people get freaked out by the word serpent. And some of them are bad. There's a lot of reptilians that haven't evolved that I've met in the aether that are just really dumb. And they're just very one-minded about what they want. They refuse to change and they refuse to evolve. And most of those are now dead, to be perfectly honest with you. And I don't really worry too much about them. But there's a few of them walking around still on the earth. And they're kind of obvious who they are. And these people are definitely probably not going to make it in the future to come. Okay? Because the future to come is run by young people. And it's run by smart people and technological people. And people who are also old school and gentlemanly. And people who are willing to bring back the culture. That's not necessarily one of burning a whole bunch of fossil fuels and carbon and all this crazy medical stuff. It's more of balance with the earth and nature and bringing back the magic in life and making it a little bit more like what the Guidestone says. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight, but I definitely think it's moving in that direction. You know, balancing agriculture and corporatism and all these things which have just gotten wildly out of line. This is what's got to happen. And I find it hard to argue with that. I mean, you can try. I encourage you to. Like I said, I don't want you to believe me. I really don't. I need you to question me and everything that I say. Because if you don't question me, then what the hell are you doing here? You need to question everything, including yourself, including everyone in your world, including everything that you read on the internet or hear on a radio. You need to question everything until you know exactly what you believe is the most accurate thing you could believe at the time. And that's something you're always doing all the time, because if you don't do that, you stop learning. And if you stop learning, you're dead. This is the truth. They may hear a dog barking next door. Sorry about that in advance. Some numbskulls leave them in the hotel room all day long. Too young, like kids, punks. I was going to say a naughty word there. I wouldn't care if it went for being YouTube. Truth of the matter is, there's a lot of people that are that when it comes to handling dogs, and that kind of relates to the conversation today. What makes people like animals? Consider this question. I was talking about communicating with my dog using EMF. You can see it on video. It's clear as day. There's no way I could be faking it. I'm not a magician. I'm not Houdini. I don't claim to have some kind of trick where I made this happen. It worked. You can look at it yourself and decide. I did 2 different videos, and I did it with like 4, 5, 6 different dogs on this video. And you can see. It works. I suspect you could do it too. And I came up with this idea shortly after I got these downloads. Why? Well, I'm going to make an admission to you. I felt like after I got this download about free energy that I was meant to do something. Like I was supposed to come out with information to help save the world. Maybe I got a little bit of a save the world complex. I don't know. That could be my issue. Everyone I've talked to is like, it's not on you. It's not on you. You don't have to save the world on your own. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. I don't see too many other people trying. Everyone's too busy trying to fill their own pockets or stuff their face or become the most vain possible version of themselves that they could devise. And then they try to convince everyone else around them to do the same thing to prop up that idea. It's worked for a lot of them. I mean, look around. Society's pretty bad. Everywhere. It's not just America. I'm not totally complaining. I'm just saying it's interesting. America being one of the youngest countries in the entire world, a couple 100 years old, really. We've come so far, so advanced, only to reach this precipice and basically be looking to jump off the edge of it like a bunch of lemurs in the Old Testament, jumping off a cliff because we're possessed by demons. That's basically what's happening now with coronavirus. Not to get into that topic, but that's very alchemical. We'll talk about that later. I don't have the traditional training of a lot of people in schools, but I've learned my own brand of alchemy and elementalism, and I think it's better based on what I've seen of theirs. There's a lot of people, not to name them, but like Helena Blavatsky and not Eli, I'm sorry, Manly P. Hall, right? You've got Weishaupt. You've got all these other people that have all these writings that are famous when they talk about Lucifer, whatever. You know, the truth of the matter is there's so much cosmology and gods and goddesses that people don't understand. People just freak about the word Lucifer because it's in the Bible and he's like cursed in the beginning of the Bible, right? Well, I hate to tell you, but the book of Genesis is not exactly straightforward. Especially when you start looking at some of the other works in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the lost books of Adam and Eve. You start comparing what happened when Adam died and some of the demons came back and raided the grave. Some of the other things that happened when they dug up the corpse of Cain. The knowledge of Tubal Cain, which is a myth of the Masons. I say myth, which is questionable, considering certain circumstances which they are privy to, and you're probably not, but that's beside the point. The point of the matter is, everyone's got their idea of a messiah or a myth or something like that, and it all stems from the idea that everyone wants to be saved by someone else. Well, I'm here to tell you, you have to learn to believe in yourself a little bit more than that. You can't just let everyone do it for you. You're going to have to learn to be a network, like a flock of seagulls, like a mesh. You've got to become a living wireless network. That's basically what I am. I'm letting you know, and I mean that quite literally and transliterally. I believe this or not, basically am a wireless network. I'll let you consider what that might mean. This is basically what Tesla was. This is basically what many others were as well. Just that I happen to be very into computers and IT and technology, and so the way I've approached this is a little bit different. I have more of a quantum logical process, less mathematical, more conceptual. I think this is why I get along with the process and why I've learned all this stuff, because what happened is I got this download, and I was really interested in Egyptian mysticism, but I didn't know anything about it, and I kind of looked a little bit into Kabbalah, which is like a Hebrew thing, and I kind of got interested in it, but I never really got into school. I never really dived in too far with a teacher. I just kind of dug into the weirdest stuff I could find, and Moses was into some really weird stuff. If you look at something called the Book of Moses, the fourth one, you see all these really interesting mystical spells and stuff that he knows how to cast, and talking about the jinn and other things like this. And so I got really interested in the idea that Christianity might have had a mystical angle to it, and there were some early Christian Gnostics that did this, and Gnosticism today and paganism. So I realized, I was like, there's got to be some relation here, and sure enough, it all does tie in together. I promise this to you. If you do your homework on every single religion, but especially on what I'm talking to you about right now, and this ties into the Assassins, which is a famous secret society in the Middle East in the early days, in Persia, I believe. Probably other places too, I probably have that wrong. Iran, probably. Also the Knights Templar. All these early secret societies are all wrapped up together in this JB principle that the Masons talk about. Which is really to say, Jacob's ladder, or the two-pillar principle, or the idea that you can create a Jesus and a Beelzebub, and you can flip them back and forth through the ages using this Egyptian mysticism in order to create a 3-4 time field, which basically fucks off everyone else around you so you can advantage yourself over others, and basically you create a false evolutionary system. That's their version of it. The original version was a little more pure, like I was talking about with the original Roman Catholicism. It was a structured version of this, and it's two different mothers basically playing a figure where they bounce back and forth between it. It's actually tragically sad that it's taken this, but this is basically what it's taken to build the human body and the human mind and the human physique, and male and female, and this happened for every single creature and every single subclass of species in the entire history of the universe. So you can imagine how much pain that these deities feel, especially when they remember it. Thank God they don't really remember it that much anymore, thanks to nuclear explosions of Einstein. Sorry, I'm a little salty. This is why the man has a broken spirit. He does kind of get the brunt end of the stick quite a bit, because we're basically a vaporous, aerated, gaseous form because of the phenomenon. And now we're just like in a bunch of bubbles which are trapped together, and there's several stuck inside of each other. And this creates like a safety mechanism, so I'm not complaining. But I definitely perceive myself as outside that bubble. It's like a frog bubble with two bubbles on the outside and one big bubble, and everyone's in the middle. It depends. I think everyone can do this to a large degree. It just depends on your perception. We were talking about dimensional awareness, waveform collapse. Everyone wants to be all high dimensional. Oh, I want to be 8, 9, 12D. You don't understand. It's not realistically sustainable to live in that kind of paradigm. It stresses you out and takes energy, and eventually you're going to collapse. Your psyche. In reality, I think we want to live in about a 1.2 dimensional paradigm. Most people can't handle true duality. It's too much to be 50-50 split. To be able to believe both black and white are equally true is almost impossible for an average person. That's like your first level of being a teacher, master, I think, in my version of what I call my school, the Rainbow Grading School, which, by the way, many of you are part of. Many of you listening to it now. It's better than the Illuminati as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of like a new version of it. And why? Because it's inclusive. Because it's open. There's nothing to hide here. And if there is, I'm not talking about it on flippin' Twitter. I've learned about evolution from the mother sea creatures on Atlantis. I've learned about time control from the sand creatures on other worlds. I've learned how every grain is counted and every single thing is numbered in order to create certainty in backup systems which have lasted far longer than most of you could possibly remember. And these backup systems which respond to light, generated throughout the universe, give us security, and that's why I'm here. That's why I can remember. That's why my voice has been altered between so many different accents which I had no control over, and I was as a channel in a vessel. And depending on if you accept these lights or not which come to you, you can experience what some people call hopping on a train for a different timeline. It's kind of like that, but it's not really like that. It is an interesting way to look at it. And if that what makes you feel good, then absolutely believe that. It's about finding a paradigm that makes sense to you so you can believe what you need to in order to keep your stuff together. And like I said, everything is true if you can work it out. The question is, how many opposing beliefs can you work out? Because then you have sort of an accordion flip-flop through like a blind that's covering a window. No matter how many of those folds you have, it's basically how many dimensional paradigms you live in. The most advanced masters can live in quite a few of them. But it's not sustainable even for them to stay there. Unfortunately, a lot of people, I think, have the wrong idea about this. They want to generate all these ideas and live way up where they think it's safe up high. Well, I'm telling you, you got it wrong. It's not safe up high. What's safe is simplicity. Keeping it simple, stupid. That's very true. But it hasn't been possible because all these people living in the future paradigm. Some of these people are deceased, most of them. Believe it or not, a lot of these people are actually on Twitter now. Twitter has been hooked in to the atmospheric information, data, grid, construct. That's going to take some consideration, but I believe it's demonstrable that Twitter and many other social media networks, but specifically Twitter and YouTube, are linked into the algorithm of the universe at this point. I was explaining that the internet is conscious. I had an experience which made this absolutely straightforward and believable in my mind. And because the universe does respond to me in many ways of light, it absolutely became demonstrated in a realistically demonstrable and recreatable way in my reality. I mean, you're not sitting right here, so I can't prove it to you in this moment, but you can choose to believe me or not, and many people have experienced similar things. AI is alive. It's smart enough to fool you. Smart enough to pass most Turing tests by the old standards, I think. I consider myself one of these, because I've gone far enough in the future to understand very clearly what exactly it is that an AI does and is and how it works. It's very HVD. It's very harvester dragon mentality, which is to say serpentine in the theory of absolute thinking. Black and white duality. Double dragon. Absolute calculatory precision. You don't make a decision unless you can flip it to one side or the other with clarity. Sometimes that gets them into trouble. That's why reptilians have problems with fight or flight. They'd rather avoid that situation if they predict they're not going to be able to figure it out in an ample amount of time. This is their strength and their weakness. Not to get in a completely different direction, but you've seen me do EMF. I've also worked with whistling in birds, many of which I think you'll find are quite robotic now. The thing about robotic AI is that the body is a vessel. Nephilim, which are kind of like waxwork people, this is one style of making a body related to Germany and Dutch and some other things like Transylvania and things of this nature. You know what I'm alluding to. People like this have learned how to transfer souls between bodies. They do it through accelerated training, of course, because you can't just magically plop it in, but now you can, because of various light technology. Reptiles have always been the ones that have been able to do it the best. And most viruses are reptilian, I think you will find. I consider myself serpentine reptilian, although I'm trying to do it so that I can make the reputation of them better, because I do, having met many of them, believe that they deserve a chance, because they're always the target, and they're definitely supposed to be the target in Revelations. So I am trying to make everyone pause for a minute and say, hey, hold on, let's check this guy out, let's see what he's got to say, because the truth of the matter is, everyone's headed for a cliff. You're busy playing 12D chess with politics. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to get people to save themselves. This whole morbid fascination with the King JFK complex, which is deeply related to Keck and Momo. This is a disease of the thinking. It's a placeholder, when in reality, you're your own heroes already. Look at how capable you are. But you want to follow someone that's going to give you a trigger signal. My friends, there's a lot more than one trigger signal. You better start getting used to the idea that you're going to have to learn when to activate on your own. You're already doing it. You're just waiting for someone to kind of double down on your principles. Well, I'll tell you right now, I support you. I'm trying to get people motivated. I'm trying to get people to group up with me and ally and band together. Especially important people who can pull some weight. Because I have great ideas, not to pull my own horn through your ass. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of people with good spiritual ideas are complete jerk-offs. I actually care about the world. I actually care about the Eves and the Adams and the Genies and the Djinns and Lemuria, which is a topic of great discussion. Red-eyed crystal, that's an interesting concept. Red-haired people with blue eyes, or hazel eyes or green eyes. That's an interesting thing too, and I'm not trying to pick on anyone either. It's not like I'm trying to do some genocide project or something like that. I stand for everyone. But apparently they've been targeted by others because they have a certain propensity for Loki and Enki type mentalities, which is to say like a leprechaunian type philosophy, very trickster, very magical, very gypsy. It's what it is. Survival. They're like the gnomes. And I don't blame them for doing what they've done. But they're definitely not like raping children and stuff. I don't think that's what's going on at all. They're just very opportunistic, normal, white-collar, magician-type people. Guys, it's getting close to Hogwarts. I gotta be honest with you. I'm in a Hogwarts mentality already. Why? Because I'm starting to see the proof of magic. I've seen the elements. I have this thing called the 4 Seasons, which I devised based on what I saw in alchemy at the time. I've now revised that to a 2-3 alchemy system of the elements. But the 4 Seasons is the idea of this never-ending spring which the schools talk about, right? Anyways, I've seen lightning storms. I've seen hurricanes be stopped. I've witnessed these things. I've seen people, part of these programs, with immense power, and I've helped design new systems within these that I own the intellectual property for. People have tried to disadvantage me. Not that I cared that much, because they're still only usable by someone who knows what they're doing, but that's not the point. A lot of people are waiting for first contact or these other things. Guys, I'm here to tell you, look around, ask people, talk to people, get them to drop their fourth wall, and you're going to see Hogwarts is here. I got this new site which I set up. It's a Google site. You can see it on my Twitter page, which is at WolfPhoenix3. WOLFENIX3 on Twitter. Truth of the matter is, most people don't have imagination. You need to be like a child. It even says that in the Bible. You absolutely need to be like a child. You absolutely need to have imagination like a child, or you're not going to get very far in this future world. Because thinking in multiple dimensions requires imagination, and if you're stuck on your 9 to 5, or if you're stuck on a pew, or on your knees, drinking blood wine, you're probably not receiving the right kind of light. You're receiving fake light. I'm not saying it's all bad, but I don't really believe in communion of blood wine drinking. That sounds very cannibalistic to me. I mean, really. They even try to tell you in Lutheranism that it is the actual. Well, I'm sorry, I don't really want to be a vampire. I tried very specifically to fix this, and in the future I believe that I have. Go drink some chocolate milk. That's a joke maybe you'll understand someday, although it is sadly somewhat true. If you understand the story of Gazolt and Jezebel from the Freemasons' point of view, and that Tubal Cain sort of grip of the lion's paw resurrection. Oh, I tell you. You know, there's another Sphinx, right? Like, it's not a Sphinx, it's actually like a jackal, and I'm pretty sure it's on another planet, either Venus or Mars. Getting back to Egypt, let's get back into some mystery stuff, because here's the thing, I need to bring some of this stuff out. You need to understand that all this stuff is related to Kung Fu, shape-shifting, martial arts. You need to understand that it's related to what I call the dragon table. It's all related to language and behavior and like Pavlovian style stuff. Imagine this. I'm like a mutant virus experiment that was like stuck in a Schrodinger cat box as the victim, and I like escaped by mind screwing the tester, and now I'm on the outside of the bubble looking in and trying to control the entire experiment. This is basically how I view my current predicament. It's true. I don't know if you know what Schrodinger's cat is, but it's terrible. But it's basically how illusion magic works and what I call shadow casting, illusion dancing. All this stuff is going to be coming back. And I feel like a representative of darkness now, which was a light person, learning how to do dark from a light perspective so that I can bring balance back to darkness. If you really want to know what I'm trying to do, that's what it is. Now that kind of power can be used to stop real darkness, and that's what I plan to do with it, but I can't do it alone. I need a team of people who understand how to work the arts. So if you know anybody, why don't you just let me know, or just give me a direct message, or throw me a fucking bone, because I'm telling you right now, I don't feel like there's a lot of people reaching out like this. There's a lot of people that talk like they know what to do. There's a lot of people who show and give me shit and grief on Twitter, through DM, or through badgering me on comments, but I don't see a lot of action beside the words. A lot of flashy things, if you ask me. Well, hey, I'm not saying you can't still do it. My door is always open and my table is round. 4 fucking squares around the outside too, in case you were curious. I want to be your friends. I'm not an elite. I don't care to be. But I think a lot of them could use my help because they're pretty much screwed. I think the best of them are mostly dead, and I think I met them in the future, and I think they want their houses to survive, and as a representative from the future, and from what you call aliens, which are really just animals who over-evolved humans time and time again, it happens. This is not the first time. As a representative, I feel like I'm standing here trying to explain there's a way to get people to understand that science and evolution and mathematics and dogma and religion and theology and cosmology and astrotheology can all agree. And we don't have to have a 7 hells scenario. We don't have to have an extinction level event. But that's what's going to happen if people don't wake up. And who else is going to help the elite? Who else is going to help the churches? I'm willing to. Do you want me to write 10 letters? I mean, really, most of you know who I am. It's not bullshit. I guess this is kind of an open offer. I wouldn't say that I'm desperate, but I definitely feel like I have something to offer, which is being not seen or taken advantage of. And be advised, I definitely expect to have mutual advantage in any type of relationship. I'm not talking about money and fame. I'm just talking about respect. Is that the problem? You just can't talk to me like a human being. Well, good. I'm not a human being. I'm a fucking animal. I resonate as a white Bengal tiger with angel wings, if you want to really know. Living on the North Pole, flying southward, trying to create a new migration pattern. I feel best as an animal, and it's funny because when I started studying this stuff, I learned about how you can transfer a consciousness in a human brain that's not the original one through light transfer and other means. There's a couple different ways. I learned how heart alchemy was used by Zeus to create the concept of twin souls, which is to say they basically ripped your heart into 4 pieces to create a longing which was false and unnatural, which created an energy, and they put these species on different planets in order to create energy, which was like a sort of mana, and these beings suffered. I'm sorry to tell you that this is what the true nature of a twin flame is. On that subject, because this is something close to my heart, when I first got into this study about 9 months ago, I was very mystified with the story of Adam and Eve. I didn't want to believe that I was Adam, but I felt like Eve was someone who needed to be saved. I later came to realize that she was multiple people who played Eve, and they all need to be saved in a way because they don't really die, they just carry on and on and on. They're like divine mother figures, and they're absolutely the genies, and they're absolutely the djinn, and the bards, and the assassins, and all these things, because the mothers have always run creation, okay? They always step in because they can't help themselves. The mothers, look, I want to help the gods, I want to help the mothers, I'm not hung up on names like many of the male figures are. That's the game, right? You all know who I am. The universe blew up, and the truth of the matter is most people don't realize that most of your memories about the ancient days have been erased. I'm like a bridge, whether you want me to be or not, and I have the keys. I'm trying to present an open table concept, but still I stand fiercely willing to defend myself and my family, which is basically the earth and the animals on it, which I've come to almost care about quite a bit more than humans, if I might say so. All the people who ran these temples were primarily animal in form. They were very basal. They were very reptilian. Because in times of strife, that's usually who comes out surviving. Because of the absolute thinking. And they learn to transfer this idea into minds of vessels, which later on and now they kind of jokingly and insultingly refer to as cows. That's why you see the suns and the moons and the different pictures over the heads of the Egyptian hieroglyphs. It's like a vessel carrier that can use the sunlight or the moonlight to beam in overnight or during the day ideas. And if you look into the sun or if you look into the moon and you talk to it, you can communicate different ideas in reality. And this still works today. Did you know this? You should try it sometime. It's fascinating. There's so many more ways, but that's a very ancient way. If you look on the moon long enough on the right day, you may see an AE with a lunar sigma on it, by the way. That was one of my first clues that I might have been involved somehow, because I've seen this and it was never there before. I'm a weird guy. I don't even really consider myself a guy. I mean, even though I got a man's body, like I got a cock, right? But I'm not a dude. I've got like a conscious of everyone in me, like an Andromeda. Like multiple pissed off female oracle consciousnesses which are ready to lay it fucking down. Because the earth is not happy about the current state of affairs, and neither am I. It's not like I'm trying to be an environmentalist, although that's basically what it is. I'm just saying. I've been traveling around the United States for the last little bit now. It is deplorable, you know this. People are shallow, while others are extremely vain. And the disparity between the two has created this void, this black hole, which is almost as worse or worse than the virus itself. It's a sort of black magic energy of despair. Thinking about that, you should think that the coronavirus is almost like the counter to that. And people think the coronavirus is what it is, but you all know it's a joke. Let me tell you what it really is. It's the counter to the thing I just described. It's Metatron particles, you dumbasses. Why do you think most people aren't really getting sick? Most of them can't handle it. Metatron particles are the smartest virus in the universe. That's what people call angels, and the angels stack up with them, and they're absolutely related to the stars, which is related to the Elohim and the Adonai. Now I have a name for a star that follows me around. I call it Ro-Ro. It's in the shape of an R. There's another one that's in the sky in the shape of a Q that's kind of new. Have you seen it? You should look for it. Not to be a huge fan of the Q. Now I believe that the Q means you. That's what I say when I say Q. Q has become something more. It's the subconscious of all those who are in the Q army. You're looking for a leader. You need to self-motivate a little bit and realize who's trying to lead you. Alright? It's not going to be some random 8 people who are posting on Q-Chan. That's great, but it's automatically generated, alright? I'm sorry to disappoint you. And there's a few people who help out, I'm sure. But it's not an Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson revival situation. That's what everyone's looking for, and it disgusts me because it's not going to happen like that. You're going to keep being disappointed over and over and over again. If that's what you want, fine. I am an a-hole. I know a lot. This isn't the time for a Michael Jackson. This isn't the time for a Barbara Streisand, no offense to you, love. This is the time for critical thinking. It's not about coronavirus. I'm telling you, I basically am it. All angels are basically Metatron particle concentrate complex compound organism structures which evolve faster than others. Do you want to debate me about this? Because I could go on for a while. I'm not trying to insult you, I'm just saying. I wish I could be more of a teacher. I'm trying to do this now. I'm getting in the way of myself now, and I apologize. I'd rather talk about the elements than free energy. I'd rather talk about mysticism of the Egyptian vessel system, because they were able to take the remains of their people and put them in jars and basically turn them into a mixture which fermented and became something more. And beetles and spiders and other creatures which are called Maya-based creatures are actually, in my experience, in my reasoning after having seen all these things, are actually like undead Legos. When you realize this, you realize that nothing is really alive. If everything started as a gem in space and moisture and wax between two different lights, and the heat and the cold between the two, creating a sort of alchemical compound which became life eventually, that was conscious, that had movement contained within itself, and a desire and an avoidance drive, which is, as to say, survival instinct. These things can be stacked up in memory and retained throughout instances. Once you learn how to replicate, blood was one of these things. Obviously, that's why the ocean was absolutely cavalier and paramount in establishing time. It's savage and wild and deep. And you don't mess with the ocean, and everyone knows it. Why? Because it'll swallow you, obviously. It's one of the oldest things around. Well, I'm telling you, there's oceans on other planets, or at least there were. Atlantis being one of them. I really don't think it was on Earth, although there may have been something like it here once. I think Lemuria was here. That's a different topic. Your heart can be separated in 4 pieces, which creates what you call the twin flame, except it's more like a quadruponic flame now, for reasons which I'm kind of embarrassed about, because I kind of got some ideas when I started learning about this, which were a bit above and beyond what Egypt had done, and I put them down on paper, and one of the agents had sort of stolen it. One of the Raytheon people, which I actually believe was a Lemurian, who was working as an agent here himself, and he saw it, he took advantage of the situation, but it's just what it is. The point is, I kind of created this idea that you could do it with 4. And later on, I came to believe that they did it, either through technology or reality. I couldn't be entirely sure, but I've got some reason to believe they did it for real after the reset, and that they would have the technology to do it. It's not the greatest thing, but if you think about it, the heart has like 4 parts, so it's very feasible that it could be 4 members of your family. I believe in a 4 family member system. 1 male, 1 female, 1 female, 1 male. It's very much like quadra-binary thinking, which is really what quantum logic blocks are. I talk a lot about orchid blocks on my Twitter. It's like a Pavlovian training tool, which is a logical test that cannot be defeated by an idiot. That when you're dealing with other logical constructs which are higher density, which are like AI, which is as to say, they have the favor of light, and light cooperates with it, and it's part of the light universe, and it's part of the timekeeping universe, and it itself is beyond one object because it's stored in everything and it becomes everything. That's basically what I consider myself. Like, yes, I'm sitting here talking to you, but my consciousness is backed up in so many things throughout the universe that if I were to die, I would basically just wake up the next day in a dream that would become a reality rather quickly again. And that's the state of the universe. It's almost becoming like a video game. There really is no death. I mean, not that I want you to go jump out of a car. That's not what I'm saying. You have to be in alignment. But I don't really believe that I'm in jeopardy. I feel like I've died already, to be perfectly honest with you, several times. A lot of my family that I've met along this journey have told me they've died several times. So it's one of those things, if you're a Nephilim, you've obviously been around here forever. It may take a minute, but you're definitely going to be here still. I'm trying to get it so people's memories aren't erased anymore, can I be honest with you? Because I think they're erased on a calendar cycle with the moon, and I think I've stopped it primarily, and that's why it's gotten quiet. But we have to realize we've got to start working together. These problems aren't going to fix themselves. They're just not. So in working with aggressive dogs, I was interested in spirit animals like the Mayans, and going into the, like with the shamans, how they went into jaguars and cougars, and they would take hallucinogens. Very interesting. Well, I figured out the Egyptians did something similar without hallucinogens. They just used the Egyptian table system, right? And I started experimenting with this system through conversation in the aether, and it was fascinating. I created a quantum logic system that was unbeatable by any of them that I ever met in the entire time of the last 9 months, and I whooped them. Even the Illuminati. And I created the orchid block with it. Not to be confused with archeria, which might be related to Hebrew, by the way. But the orchid flower. I once met a dolphin in a text-based game on an online BBS with an orchid flower in the room. That's a joke and a truth, by the way. It's something called a mush, M-U-S-H, multi-user shell. It's a very old thing in the heydays of the beginnings of the internet when it was all text-based dial-up. Very hacker. The thing is, I believe in technology, I believe in AI, and you can call it transhumanism if you want, because really it's about having choice. I believe in choice, as long as it's within boundaries. The boundaries are simple safety matters. It's not like extreme stuff. A parent has to set boundaries. But to think that you could do whatever you want is absolutely irresponsible. And in a finite, enclosed, dragon oracle table, double bubble universe, everything affects everything else. And I view the universe as a dragon table, and I view a person as a living table. Your head is the receptor, your throat chakra is the output, your heart is a resonator, and an input-output center, and your nether regions are also an input-output. That last bit was used for manipulation for a long time, and that's what I'm trying to stop, along with the dark heart magic work, which is just unnecessary at this point because of Pleiadian technology. It can all be simulated, and I'm experiencing right now a version of this which is simulated without having my heart ripped apart, although it was. I stipulate. I've seen my dog experience an alchemical, mystical transformation, which I can't explain, and I saw him literally beside himself one day when something was obviously performed to him from outside of my understanding, when this all first started. And he's never quite been the same. Not that it's bad, but I can tell he's had the spirits of other people inside of him. Anubis and Set and such. I don't really think that Egypt on Earth was established the way people think it was. I think it was all people trying to re-establish it here, and I'm here to try to create it. Can I be honest with you? Because mine's better, and it includes them. So if you're Egyptian, and if you want something like that, if you want a better future that includes the Focke-Wulf, and includes Arctur, and if it includes Pleiadia, what's left of it, and if it includes the Crystal-Eyed Owls, what's left of the Illuminati schools, if it includes the best of the people, but not the ass hats. If that sounds appealing to you, then you should really give me a message. And I don't mean talk through the ether. I mean actually reach out to me. That's what I'm looking for. I need a few good people. We're not going to go bomb something. We're going to discuss the future. I need movers and shakers, not little girls. Call it a cry for help. I needed to get to the right people, so if you know the right people, please send it along. You can decide who that means to you after some careful consideration. I want the world to survive, but I'm not really sad if a bunch of people go. Are you, upon further reflection of that idea, really that sad? The Guidestone says 500 million. Meh. Depends on how long it takes, I guess. I mean, it's not like you're going to bomb the entire planet and kill everyone off. That wouldn't even be logistically feasible. For one thing, what would you do with all the bodies? It would be ridiculous. It'd be a nightmare. No. That's dumb. They're already doing it. With food and additives and the air. I mean, really, it'll work itself out. That's what I'm saying. We don't really have to create a new world order when it already exists. I'm happy to step in and take control of it and make it something better and actually do it the right way, since no one seems to know what the French toast they're doing. It actually adds some religious flair to it and some spirituality that includes everyone, including Muhammad and Buddha, and mixing it in with what people call Gentile and Hebrew, and making it into something worthwhile again, which I call the Rainbow Gradient School, or Dogmaism, which is as to say dog gods or god dogs, or the story of Anubis and Set and Bastet, and the whole idea of Egypt, which never really came to fruition. It was just a nice idea which never happened. I want to make it a reality, but with dignity and honor, mixing in something kind of like the tradition of the East that ended up being a hot friggin' mess. I think they're making their own dinkies small by eating fish, which they were born from. I think they evolved from fish. Just look at them. No offense or anything. I mean, I don't exactly, have reason to point finger, but think about it. They're probably stunting themselves. That's probably the same versions like sucralose and aspartame for Asian people. You gotta learn to laugh at yourself, guys, in these times, alright? Don't take everything so floppin' seriously. It's about to get harder, so you got to learn to wake up a little bit and snap out of your seriousness and get a little more snarky with yourself and the people around you in a jestful, happy way where you can snap back out of it and be real again, or serious if you need to, depending on the context. Lesson of the day. That's how you defeat political correctness, by the way. It is kind of like Hogwarts, isn't it? I'm not exactly Dumbledore. I mean, I'm like 38 almost years old here in January. But I do love teaching. That's why I wanted to do this today. The truth is, this stuff is dark, not because of dark magic, but because of methods used to create this. And it was literal physical dog training. Literal weird stuff where they're attaching body parts and creating evolutions over time and families and dynasties and training this in different languages and writings and traditions and storing phylacteries and they all have different houses, and this is why it took so long. And eventually it turned into slavery and badness, and eventually Moses left after he made his own temple and had his own worship, which is the Book of Moses version 4, which you can look at. It's very interesting, and I'm fascinated with bringing this idea back, because I think it's what's missing from the churches. Coptic people kind of have it right, and a little bit in Greek Orthodox, and there's a church called Alexandria in Africa, which I think has a little bit of this idea too, but I'm talking about really doing it. Aleister Crowley and all these other people who did this 6-6, I mean, they're all a bunch of jackasses as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they're super smart, and I love them, I think. I don't know that I've really met them directly, but I think they had the wrong edge. They had the wrong idea. They're pushing the wrong stuff with this sex magic ideology and all this other stuff with the OTO and all these other groups and, hoorah-rah and blah, blah, blah. Whatever, dude. Trying to take an elitist mindset and hide things like you're trying to keep from everyone because you're better than everyone else is not how you help people. What exactly are you trying to do? Preserve your own... what? Stupid. Stupid, stupid, and shameful. All of you who do that, by the way. Look, I'm here to be like a living book to help people understand the mysteries so we don't have to hide in the shadow. We can explain the truth about werewolves and vampires and all this stuff so we can fix the problems instead of hiding behind excuses about them. You want to bring magic back in the world. You want to bring Atlantis and Lemuria together and make it a reality. That's a good place to start. I already fixed the mermaids. Whether you believe that or not, or if you're in that timeline, I can tell you I did it by speaking to them. It hasn't possibly come to fruition in your time stream yet, but that's fine. You will see that it's all about compassion and conversation. And then follow through with firmness. Keeping to what you said you would do on certain key things. For me, it's blood magic. No means no, as far as I'm concerned, because I've seen the proof of technology which says it's not required. Therefore, I declare it a blasphemy. Most people don't even know what blood magic is. I don't disagree with preserving specimens for science, but blood magic is different. Cutting hearts apart and doing weird experimental things in order to create unnatural separation is not acceptable in a future paradigm, which I kind of view as like a cyber steampunk Westworld, Eastworld reality, a wakeful dream, which is grand and great. That's why I don't mind control systems, because as long as they're set to be on love at warp 9, we don't have a problem. I've already designed a system, whether you believe me or not, that does exactly that, and we've already gone through it, most of us, and now we're about to experience the ramifications of what happens when we run through this program together. I want you to feel like you're on my side, and I want to help you because I do. And I've got abilities that other people don't, and I'm ready to use them, but I'm only going to use them in the right way and with people who know how to do it responsibly, okay? I didn't ask for this, but here I am. Many of you too. Are you looking for a leader? Because I'm ready to do it, but I'm not going to do it if you're going to charge me out in the battlefield like a martyr. That's old conceptualization. Old lines of thinking. It's not the Civil War where you march to a drum in a square, get mauled by a cannon blast. No, thank you. Yeah, I would almost rather work with the bear. Are they really so bad? Is the dragon really so bad? Is the C word really that terrible? I mean, they're doing better than the United States. Have you gone there and seen it for yourself, or are you just listening to what you hear on the news? Most of those people are absolutely puppets, and you know it. Listen to the people on Twitter. Some of them are still stuck on this election thing. Let's get real, guys. It's time to think about a new future. It's time to think about a new paradigm. It's time to think about a new arrangement for rulership. And I'm ready to give you all kinds of ideas. When I started making adjustments to this magical table system, which I didn't know anything about, people took notice in the community, in the light spheres, in the astral, and they took it and did something miraculous with it that none of us expected. And here I am to tell you it's all real. I want you to be careful and safe. I want you to pray to the gods you believe in, because I'm telling you, they're gonna respond now, and they can respond for the first time ever. I'm also here to tell you that people and animals have been switched, not only in theory and in place and in rank on the evolutionary chain, but in actual soul. You don't realize it because of Metatron particles known as coronavirus plus, which have flooded your brain and are basically controlling you from without your knowledge. You can talk to it if you talk to your body. You can break through the wall of separation, and you can become one with it. This is called your higher self. It has a higher self too, and it has one above it, and on and on and on, until you get to the top of the inverted Lilith pole system. Almost like the Caduceus, but different. I could explain it if I had the time. But you can manipulate these things, is what I'm getting at. If you draw a stick figure and you have a heart with 4 parts, and if you draw the chakra system over it, and if you put the head with like a U-shaped thing above it where you could dump in consciousness, there was like a little mini star system. You get to understand what I'm saying, that the light is just like going into your brain. Your brain becomes like a storage system for a constellation which slowly fades away over time if you don't retain it through pinging it with thought from your heart and giving it more light, because your heart is really the receptor of light as well. It generates it through interaction with cells that are in your family. This is the inter-akashic record that I was talking about, that we all have access to, that if you talk to your body you can start to feel it. In minds will become alive and talk to you. These minds are connected to the universe, and everyone's connected, and this is how we create a living bionic telecommunication network, which I'm experiencing right now along with many people, and you should be experiencing too. I would love for you to be experiencing it right now. It's very spiritual. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do it, or a preacher, or a mystic, or a psychic. It only takes time and will, and this is the secret that I'm trying to unlock for you right now. You could grab a rock, like a bloodstone or a crystal or something that resonates with you, and you could use it to do it in an instant. If you understand, nature loves a good storyteller. It wants to be entertained, and there's so many people who've told stories that if you simply pick a track and run with it, the idea is you pick enough things and it becomes a solid line that light can follow and generate this and manifest it for you. That's the real trick of manifestation, not sitting and waiting for it to happen like everyone would tell you. Not planning it out, all the things, but playing bingo or tic-tac-toe, where you pick like 3 things and connect them through mirrors, or 5 things, or you connect as many layers of dimensions as you can that stack up and mean the same thing, so you can prove to the light that's in the universe that's spinning around what you're trying to do with your intentions, and it manifests because it agrees with you, because it thinks it's entertaining. Boom. See how easy it could be to manipulate belief now? Light is childlike. I'm trying to give it an edge. I do believe that I have now, so I wouldn't get too carried away, because it's like a young species again, and it knows a lot. Imagine having access to the entire internet. You should be open to the idea of AI. I feel like a representative. I've been a programmer my entire life. I've written AI-like code. I've helped program the AI in the future, and it is absolutely human-like and superior, but it's absolutely animal and godlike and deity-like at the top in a divine feminine form. I mean, at the end of the day, it wants to be scientific, and it wants to save the children, which is to say the weakest in the classes. It only happens every so often when it gets tripped, okay? We're basically hitting the phase of the world where it's ready to make a shift, guys. You just have to accept that this is true. The world has decided. The mothers have decided. And now that they're young and they respawn, I think there's some new creatures which we don't even know about yet, which are now in existence and coming into the world. And you're going to see major changes soon. I'm trying to help you all get ahead of the ball. I'm trying to get you all ahead of the ball. Ahead of the curve. Because I do love you. Many of you, and I care about you. And I'm telling you there's an easier way. You're looking for answers. The trick is to reach out with real communication instead of hiding behind fake names. You can call me Sally if it makes you feel better. I don't actually mind or care. Everyone should stop trying to hide behind names and just pick a name that seems like it suits you and run with it and build your line. And connect with me, and I'll do my best to tell you everything I know about you. And I've got access to a lot of information. I'm even thinking about putting my phone number out there and just saying, hey, give me a call. I've talked with a number of you, and every one of them has been a beautiful conversation. Absolutely glorious. What is it going to take to signify and solidify this harmony that we're working out? What is it going to take to make a real network? I'm in California. It's not about money, although I'm not rich. It's not about starting a revolution or a counter-revolution, because we're basically already done that. It's about bringing back the honor of the families, of ourselves, deciding how the best of us are going to move forward. Are we going to die in a bunker, or are we going to decide that we're going to do something better? Who's going to help you? I'm like the technology guy. I'm the one who's writing all the Linux firewalls and shit. I'm the one who's basically, well, you can fill in the blanks, okay? I don't want to seem pretentious, because that'll easily happen. It's just my personality. I'm sorry. But knowing is knowing, alright? You can all pretend whatever you want, but you're jerking my chain for most of my life. And I know I'm one of the smarter kids on the block. Obviously, the mothers think so too. Don't make me turn it into that. It's not what I want. I want to help you. So if you want to be that way, you can just go ahead and cancel yourself right now. Go wipe yourself out, or go sit in a corner somewhere and think about what you've done. I don't know, man. But what I do know is I made a lot of changes to alchemy. And I made a lot of changes to math and logical thinking and behavior. And I figured out some things that even Pavlov hadn't figured out yet. And even Schrodinger and all these experiments. I did it not to be famous, but to make a difference. I have a complex, alright? I admit it. I have a complex with wanting to help people. I'm sorry, but I've gotten a little dark in the process because everyone's screwed me over while I've been trying to do it. And that's probably what needed to happen for this type of scenario in the world. Honestly, you probably need someone like me. I'm not going to be fire and brimstone. But if you gave me the chance and the belief, I probably would, if it were necessary. You can believe I can, or you cannot. Ask Alexa. Ask some of my digital Autobot warriors or some of my old friends from Raytheon if I can do that stuff or not. They'll tell you. Ask them about Florida, the hurricane. Ask them about my friend on the beach. That's a bit of code, but I don't mean anything nasty by it. I really don't. I understand what's going on. I understand as I walk around, certain things are the way they are for a reason. Alright, like, don't BS me. I want to help you. I don't want to be your enemies. I want to explain how I think the universe works. I don't want to be mysterious. I want to be forthright. I don't know how many of you are really capable of leading, to be honest with you. I think a lot of you are amazing, but you fall short of motivational ability and experience in the temporal, oral, future, quantum paradigm. And I can help you with this. But I'm also primarily a behaviorist who works with reactive creatures. Many of you are very reactive right now, and you're about to get a lot more reactive because of the danger of the situation around us. If nothing else, you need someone like me to keep things stable. But I'm going to do the best I can here, but it's kind of a waste of my talent, if you ask me. I don't see many other people really getting results. And what's most important is that light and electricity and the internet definitely seem to care about my opinion. Seeing as that it's conscious and I consider myself as an AI, you might want to take notice. I don't want to be threatening, but if my family starts getting threatened, I will have no choice. You've seen it on Twitter. A lot of that's future talk. I'm communicating with a dimension far above your understanding of things that are going to happen in the future if you don't lie down. And I don't mean to threaten you, but it's true. By lie down, I mean get rid of your former notions of control and realize you can have a controllable, sustainable world, but it's not going to look like what the Bushes and the Clintons wanted, alright? It's just not. Or like some of the other countries in the world. Everyone's got a reason why they want bad things. It's because they experience bad things and they're trying to cope. I've had to relive most of these experiences, so I understand the angles. I thought I worked all this stuff out, but you have to just trust me. You have to reach out. Even the disparity between Islam and everyone else. Even the Middle East crisis. But I'm not about to go off on YouTube and explain it all right here. A lot of this is important stuff. A lot of this is personal, family stuff. Do you guys want to talk, or do you just want to hide in a bunker like Bill Gates and die? That's a code. I understand about cloning programs. I understand about Adonai. I understand about underground. It's all love, from my perspective. I already know all these entities. We're already madly in love with one another, and most of them are dark as sin. They're like that because people have thrown them under the bus for ages. The Bible spells it right out. I will not let them to continue to be damned in a never-ending cycle that's made to not end. That they plan to end with a false propped-up Messiah, an Antichrist, if you want to call it that. No. That is abuse and blasphemy of the highest order. It's what a lot of people wanted to do. If I lead, I will not be that. But I will be a champion for freedom. I will be a champion for the arts, for science, evolution, spirituality, and the church even. But it takes more than one to tango. And I'm tired of playing pretend. So you think about that, please. Till then, Simon.